And we're recording.
All right, the fumes are still in the air. We're at the end of the road to WrestleMania. Actually, we're not even on the road. We're at WrestleMania. This is still fresh on my mind. We've already passed this. Are we on the road trip back? I don't know. Well, let's talk about WrestleMania because it's the biggest thing going on right now since sliced bread.
Magpie, I think we're actually at the WrestleMania hangover.
Yep.
Really? Aren't we still in the buzz of WrestleMania? Because the hangover will be tomorrow.
I mean, I think you mean the come down a bit more. Like, I don't think...
Oh, the peak. We're at the peak.
No, we're not at the peak.
The apex predator.
Throwing
out
right. But if you haven't guessed it, DarkMatch is reassembled just to talk about the WrestleMania because we love the Jericho schedule and we want to talk about this because it did. I think it's fair to say that this show left an impression on all of us, top to bottom.
I mean, I'm talking about this in the Skype chat, and honestly, like, I don't necessarily like the monumental thing that happened at WrestleMania. I'd actually say that there are two, but the one that would probably come to mind immediately as a negative.
Well, do you want to go match for match first, or you just want to go straight into that? I mean, it's the freshest thing, but whatever.
Yeah, because we can go match by match because the matches themselves weren't particularly long. We can
there are actually quite a bit of them more. But
I think also too, it helps with like when we talk about that moment. I don't mean to take it away from you, Chris, but when we talk about that moment, it's like it fits with the theme of it taking the wind out of our sails. It was a nicely paced show.
Yeah,
and I think
the thing is, I was just gonna say that like when you look at this show compared to last year, like this show for WrestleMania is infinitely better. Like
1,000 times.
But if I'm looking at this in context of the storylines that have been going on, I'm thumbs slightly up. But if I'm looking at this in context of an isolated show in a vacuum, like, let's say 40 years from now, I go back and just watch this show without any of the build-up or whatever, I'm definitely at a thumbs up.
Yeah.
It really is, like, for me as a wrestling fan, it's a thumbs up for sure, because it was a great show. They did a lot of the things I liked, and people got really over. And, of course, it's something I'm going to remember as a wrestling fan. Like, I watched that pay-per-view. This is a moment as a fan that meant a lot to me. And this is also when I got to see a bunch of other stuff that would not just mean a lot to me as a fan, but what would happen in the wrestling world. You know what I'm saying? Like, this is a historic moment.
This was actually a very eventful show.
Yes, sir.
And the last two WrestleManias haven't really been that. They've had their moments, but like this, I can point to 3 or 4 points that like are going to affect the landscape of the actual storylines they're running.
Yeah, it's I don't know. The wind's kind of out of my sails at this point, so I think by talking about it, I will better understand how I feel about this show because I'm
let's start on the pre-match with the tag team titles on the line, which was a good opener. I liked it.
Yeah, it wasn't bad. It was the first like real good show up like in action of the set, and the set like was fantastic. It was just completely grand. It was
it was befitting of WrestleMania 30.
Yes.
Yeah, and it was exactly what I expected. I mean, I went. I'm looking here. I know for about the vast majority of the show, I predicted everything until about the fourth match. I ran what? Geez, 4 or what is it? 1, 2, 3, 4. Basically, I went. There were 8 matches. I went 6 for 8 on my predictions, and this one was the first one I ran off with. I just didn't really see that the Usos were going to lose. I didn't really think there was a reason for it. Like, no one had really been built for it, and we got the moment we were really looking for, that this match was all about. Like, sure, there was a fatal 4-way, and you had all these teams in there. Los Matadores really didn't deserve to be in there. Ryback, Who gives a shit? I mean,
Yeah.
let's be real.
They were placed there because they could do the job of having a good curtain jerking match really well. I mean,
They
you
were
could have
placed.
just like
They were
Exactly.
placed there because there's no other tag teams because they broke.
Yeah.
well, but it's not just that there's only other tag teams, but it could have been worse. It could have been just putting two guys together that have no chemistry, as opposed to like, okay, we can at least get a good match out of it if we book four teams that know what they're doing
Yeah.
in the ring.
Mhm.
And I think it would have been better to cut their losses at least and just been like, real Americans, Usos, one-on-one, go.
Yeah, I
Yep.
think that would have been smarter. But I will say this: they did have some good spots, but at the same time, they did also have convoluted spots. They did. It wasn't as bad as say like a very, I don't know, more of a green worker indie show where they have that spot where like 8 guys are out on the apron, or not at the apron, but like out on the outside, and they're like, geez, we just got up from being hit and we're like drunk and kind of wobbling around so we can catch the guys who do planches out to the out. And they had one of those spots, but it wasn't nearly as long as some of the things I've seen, so I wasn't too upset about it.
Yeah.
But
As well,
yeah.
though, they did have a really boring spot where I expected to be excited where Michael McGillicuddy was fucking with El Torito and like he basically just like put him out of commission. Then like very much hesitated before seeing everyone on the outside, as you mentioned. Like it just
Curtis Axel has no sense of timing.
yeah.
Well, if his promo skills are any indication, then yes, that's
By the-
true.
There's just something that doesn't work with him.
By the way, that was a legitimate mistake. Me calling him McGillicuddy. Like I don't really care about like I'm not trying to be smarky or anything. Like, but it's funny. It's still Curtis.
Hey, Chris, you don't talk smack about the master of the McGillicuddy.
Hey, we weren't talking
Right.
shit about Beulah.
Okay, so I think we should move on from this one. It was
Yeah,
it was
Usos
it was a
win.
good opener.
Yeah,
On the
Usos
WrestleMania
win
kickoff.
and Cesaro swing swagger, which is really what all of us wanted.
Yeah.
And just one side note: the fact that the Usos went in as champions, the tag team champions. Granted, it's still a pre-show match, but they went in as a champions in WrestleMania and left as a champion. That's a team that put up with so much shit over the years. Just for them to have that is still pretty cool.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I mean, I was telling you guys this during when we were watching the show. Like the Usos are more so of like an old school tag team, not so in the sense of like necessarily what they do, but more so in the sense of their progression as far as success as a team. Like they debuted, they feuded with the Hart Foundation as like the Samoans who aren't wild and they're more classy, and they had Tamina with them, and then they gradually like kind of went away and they came back, and they've kind of adopted the almost wild Samoan gimmick, but not quite. They're
Yeah.
just like they're just
They're
like
wild.
really good wrestlers who have a Samoan heritage,
They're-
and I
they're-
think
they're
that's a really good
diaspora.
fit for them.
But then
Put 'em-
they, thank God, they boogied with Rikishi, and once they figured out those guys had grooves, you got to see Jimmy and Jay be charismatic.
Yeah,
as
no,
fuck.
that was a cool that was a good old school episode of Raw. I like that.
Yeah.
Right. But it showed just how charismatic and fun they could be. So they're like, well, why don't we just, instead of making them nameless Samoan, just do that? And I don't
Yeah.
like Total Divas, but seeing Jay just be such a cool dude, it's like,
Yeah, no, I definitely agree with you.
yeah,
right
even
there.
if that's a character, that's still
Total
awesome.
Divas has definitely done favors, in my opinion, because like, regardless of when they run, like I know what was it? I think it was last episode of Total Divas. They ran like Brian rented the bus, and he's like, no erections on the bus was a rule, and then so they catch they catch Naomi and was it Jimmy Uso who she married
Jay.
to? Jay. Wow, yeah, wow. Look how bad I am, but what I'm just saying is they catch him like, oh my god, they were about to have sex. So it's just like, oh wow. But still, like the whole time, like every single time I see Jay on the show, it's just like that's a cool guy. Like I definitely would want to hang out with him. Like the top people on that show for me are
Or not
Brian
even the.
and Jay, and then as a close third, but not like a guy I'd want to hang out with, but like a guy I'd want to watch on a reality show. As far as just like entertainment value, is Vinny, Cameron's boyfriend,
Well,
because he's just so just like ridiculously like clueless and hilarious that I love him. So I think
that's
we should move on at this point. But
Yeah.
yeah, that's what I gotta
Still
say. My
not seen
piece
a
on that.
single episode of Total Divas.
You're missing out, man. You're missing out. I'm telling you. Just don't watch the episode where Gizmo dies.
I don't make time for this, my friend. But you could have earlier segued into with your mention of Daniel Bryan because he was the you want to call the tag match the curtain jerker, but other people would consider this one. And per the stipulation, I think its placement makes sense.
Well,
Whoa, you just skipped a big portion of the opening, buddy.
yeah.
Oh yeah.
It's like that.
The obligatory 30-minute guest host spot.
Yeah.
Featuring
Really don't. I like
featuring two people that were more over than Hulk Hogan. This is Vince's way of like, okay, Hogan, you work for me now. Now suck my dick. Here's one guy who got more cheers than you after you left. Oh, and here's another guy. Now deal with it.
It wasn't.
I like the segment, though.
The best part of it was Hulk Hogan talking about how he was at the Silver Dome.
Oh,
yes.
He still recovered really nicely. He's like, okay, Hulkamaniacs, you called me out.
At least
I
he
will
didn't.
give
Yeah,
him
at least
that.
he didn't try and hide it.
I'll give him that. You know, when I thought, I was like, you know, it's the Superdome, New Orleans, where they're at, and then the Silverdome, obviously the host of WrestleMania 3.
I kind of
But
wish
then-
Michael Cole turned heel again that time, because that was, in my opinion, the height of his heel.
That was
heel run was
our truth unforgivable,
Yeah.
confusing Milwaukee for
Yeah,
Green
yeah, yeah.
Bay.
and he cites a chant in the crowd like that. That was
Milwaukee.
I mean, there's one thing. Like, I mean, for most people who don't know, I mean, I live in Wisconsin. I'm not a huge hardcore Wisconsin. You know, if you don't know anything about the state, whatever. I don't know. Whatever to me.
Why is it even a fucking state? Can it just be Chicagoland now?
Well, you know, if they would like give us more money, I'd be down with that. But I'm always down for more money. Okay. But
the entire Midwest should just be Chicagoland. I'm sorry to derail you. It's just Wisconsin.
Dude, you know,
Why?
whatever works. But like, here's the difference here. Milwaukee and Green Bay, that's maybe at most a 3-hour drive. Silverdome to Superdome, that's like 16, maybe 20 hours via car. How do you fuck that up? I
Yo,
know they
Hogan.
both start with S, and they're both domes, but come the fuck on.
No, if you listen, I'll elaborate. You're a Hulk Hogan who, when he lifts his sunglasses, reveals very wrinkly, very bloodshot eyes. And you,
So you're
then
blaming
congratulate for
marijuana.
being able to work despite that.
So Chris, you're blaming pot.
I don't. It may not. It may be more than pot. You
Chris
never
would
know.
never
Hulk Hogan's a cyborg.
Oh,
This
so
is what
you're
happens
saying,
when you smoke
saying-
Vince's shit.
You're saying Hogan's on like some old school Quaaludes.
Never know.
No, man, that's Piper, baby.
Oh,
I mean,
okay,
I'm not gonna say
okay.
anything like lemons or whatever, but
I'm not going to slander the Hulkster, brother.
honestly, like
Basically, this was just the three biggest names in the industry, like having a moment.
Yeah,
it
definitely.
was fun as shit, and like
Yeah, it was.
It
Yeah,
was.
no,
cute.
no doubt.
It was great.
All jokes aside, like this was an A+ opener, even if it wasn't a match, even if at all. It's like people.
Throughout the episode, we sort of have a CM Punk quotient, just exactly how much people would have wanted to, or how much it would have made sense for him to come back. This was one of the moments. Like
Yeah.
this sort of guy of a new generation. Because say all you want about like this being his return after like voluntarily walking out, but I mean the same thing could be said for like Hulk Hogan going to different pastures. The same thing could be said for Stone Cold, and the same thing could be said arguably to Rock, even though he did that for not at all badly selfish reasons.
Yeah,
Yeah, fair enough. Fair enough.
but good opener.
Can we get to the true main event of this evening? Okay,
Sure.
the true main event of this evening, and all the guys on the show can vouch for it, even the ones that aren't recording with us right now. Triple H's entrance, his ego gave me an orgasm tonight. That's how
My God.
fucking awesome it was. Like, I didn't like it, but it was just like, I couldn't stop laughing.
I just
I'm
like yeah.
wow.
I looked at him on his throne, surrounded by girls, like with that skull mask on and the chainmail, and I just thought to myself, "Feel the wrath of Triple H."
I'm thinking Cole the Conqueror, dude. It's just like, oh my god, he's really this inside of his ego, man, and he's got his like wife just in the secretary, like she looks like she's coming in a hustler suit, man.
I
A
was
hustler
Man,
thinking
suit.
Steph
Shao
was looking
Kahn.
hot tonight.
Oh, it was hot. Don't get me wrong, but it's like
Oh
he has this
man.
hot ass wife in the ring, and please welcome Triple H. Darkness, lasers, and then a smoke, his throne, three hot bitches, a harem, and then he took like what 5 minutes just to like stand up from that chair. That's how just
He
he
took
wanted it to be
his
epic.
sweet ass time.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
to me, this was like unadulterated, hilariously awesome. This is
Yeah.
pro wrestling to me.
Pro wrestling, and also sort of like that whole reminder of Triple H playing up like just how fucking
Awesome he thinks
Yeah,
he is.
yeah.
Yeah, which fits with the character.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I think it fit well, and you know the thing is the whole during this saga was the whole B plus player crap that was thrown around by Triple H on Daniel Bryan, and I don't know wherever you want to rate him, but that whole thing came to an article that Dave Meltzer of the Wrestling Observer wrote like 20 years ago about Triple H, and Triple H, like, the one thing about him that you notice is that he takes the internet crowd seriously, and so he
Yeah.
will
Too
constantly,
seriously.
yeah, no, he'll constantly either make references to or slightly allude to it. And so that's where he got that line for Daniel Bryan. And no offense to Triple H, like, I think he's a great worker. I think he's got a good look. I think his promos are good enough, but he doesn't emit that aura that a Steve Austin, that a Rock does, or a Hulk Hogan. He is a B plus
Plus
player.
player.
In the grand scheme of things, like, there's really not another accurate thing to say about him. He is the heel that takes on the top babyface, but he's not that top babyface.
But keeping that logic in
for
mind
a
though,
night he is. For a night.
keeping that logic
Yeah,
keeping that logic in mind though, it's just like if he's okay, if he knows himself not to be in, let's say, WWE kayfabe, if he knows himself not to be a true A plus player, but he has all that in mind, he's still gonna be like, well, fuck it, I'm the owner of the company, I'm still gonna have the grandest entrance and look like I'm the A plus player.
yeah,
Meanwhile,
that's
Daniel
the
Bryan just
thing.
comes out to
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, he's overcompensating. And while I loved that entrance, I loved it for the wrong reasons. You know what I'm saying?
You loved it because it
oh,
was
sure.
ridiculous, not because it was badass.
It was
Exactly.
It was like watching.
Exactly.
You know how in Spinal Tap, where they make fun of the old progressive rock bands when they just got more and more in the stage, and they have like ice skating shows and just like
hmm
into the.
Mhm.
This was that equivalent in wrestling
That's
entrances.
nail on the head equivalent.
I'm just thinking there's gonna be a fucking Stonehenge, or
And
like he's gonna look.
I'm trying to figure out if he's self-aware enough to realize how ridiculous that was.
No, he's self-aware. Triple H has to
Like,
be self-aware to do that.
I flip flop so back and forth on his self awareness because
Same here.
that's the thing. Like, I think Triple H is a brilliant mind for the business, but I don't think Triple H should be allowed to book himself. I
Yeah,
think that's where the massive conflict comes in, because when he's able to book himself, it gets all convoluted and he becomes too concerned with himself and not what's, quote,
it's
best
like
for business.
I've been saying this whole time that this whole feud hasn't really been about Triple H versus Daniel Bryan, but it's been about Triple H versus the IWC with Daniel Bryan in the co-starring role. It hasn't really been about two people that dislike each other who
Well, it could
Daniel
have.
Bryan is just begging for his respect. It's not really about that. It's more about Triple H doesn't like the guy that the IWC likes, and that's the feud. And it
hmm
doesn't really work on. It doesn't really work. It's kind of like stupid and like weird. It's too meta. It's too meta, and it's just like it's just too meta.
Yeah. There's it's like Inception. There's too many layers to unravel here, like where the work begins and where the shoot is.
Yeah,
And I mean, I don't necessarily want to analyze it, but I think where where really it unravels is like you're trying to beat him and he's trying to work you and all this stuff, and it keeps going in a vicious circle. But really, if you break it down, truly, it's only like two layers deep.
Bum, bum,
Okay, well, let's get into this match here. You know, we had the Triple H versus Daniel Bryan to lead us off. Triple H with Stephanie McMahon. She was looking hot as hell, and usually I don't say that about Steph, but like she had some prime legs. She had like some sort of schoolgirl dominatrix, whatever you want to call it, fetish
Yeah.
gear on, and
Very, very.
she was on point. I'm just gonna say that, and I usually
And
don't say that about a lot of people.
and to sum it up, like this was the longest match on the card, and it was
It
quite.
was,
There was
yeah.
there was a very like easy to see dynamic between it, but nonetheless, like it was one. It made good sense. Like it moved along very well.
It was a good match. It was a very good match. It wasn't a great match, but it was very, very good. I wish that it's the kind of match that makes me wish they would have a rematch because I think a rematch they'd have a little bit more chemistry and sort of know each other better, and I feel like a rematch would be even better. Even though I have no desire for Triple H to really continue feuding with Daniel Bryan, it's weird.
This match is great because
I
Hey
mean,
Magpie, we
I
can
don't
kind
think
of barely hear you.
because
really.
we're definitely going to see the rematch between Bryan and Norton. Like
Yeah, we'll see that one.
it's definitely happening.
Yeah,
Batista may or may not challenge. The fact of the matter is, like, he was the one who tapped. So,
I'm definitely sure he will.
but I'm
I'm
sure
definitely
Triple
sure
H
we'll
and
see a
Bryan is.
rematch from both of the guys in the triple threat in the main event.
Well, Orton's due a
I'm sure
rematch.
Triple H
But
versus
he's
Daniel
still.
Bryan is over for the foreseeable future, though.
It's
Yeah.
great because
Magpie, you're really are you far away from your mic? Because you got really quiet.
dude, I'm like right here.
There we
Okay,
go.
okay, there you go.
Now we can hear you, man.
Fuck, Mike, trying to sabotage me. What I've been trying to interject with, I guess, because my mic problems was like, it's great to see that Daniel Bryan's work in terms of technical proficiency. It's awesome to see Triple H work against somebody who is that technically proficient because he does have a good. He knows how to work against somebody like that, i.e., like the Kurt Angles or Benoit's or many
Who?
others. So it's good to. Sorry, Lance Storm.
Ah, okay.
Okay, yeah, it's great to see him work against somebody that technically proficient because there's a good dynamic there, and I saw that dynamic during this match, and I do agree with what No Leaf was saying about how if there was a rematch, now it's like okay, we're fitting into each other's rhythm. We're not just really good ring generals who can get along with each other, and like this match, we can do even more now.
Yeah,
Uh,
it's been a while since Triple H has been in a match like this. The other matches he's been in lately have been more like brawls, but it was
The
kind of
Lesnar matches.
yeah.
The
So it
Lesnar
was
matches and the Taker ones.
4 out of 10.
Taker was kind of half and half, but yeah, more so
True,
on the
true.
brawl sense.
It was also nice to see Daniel Bryan pull off 3 German suplexes. Like
Did
I
he
was
do three?
actually
I thought
kind
he
of
got
iffy.
two.
Like even as he was getting over and they
he
were
did
starting
too.
to push him more in 2013, I was sort of getting iffy on him being able to do that, especially guys much bigger than him. But it seems they
I will
really
say
got
I
this
liked
one.
the spot they ran where it was Triple H about to go for the German and then Daniel Bryan reversed him. I was thinking like I don't think I can recall Triple H ever doing a German suplex and then Daniel Bryan just like but then again,
Dude,
Daniel Bryan reverses the German, but then Triple H, he's a freaking tiger suplex of all things,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
yeah.
Tiger
Like,
suplex.
where
That
did
was
you pull
awesome.
that shit out of there? Like, have you been watching your old like All Japan tapes with fucking Tiger Mask 1?
Oh, I'm sure. I'm sure he knows what Tiger suplex is. So it's like he
I'm
figured
sure
it
he
out.
does. I mean, they've been done in WWE before, but I mean, as far as like, safety wise, like that's one of those moves they usually don't allow because
But
what is
this is
it?
what makes this is what makes Triple H a good locker room leader, though. He knows Bryan has a talent. He knows Bryan would be able to be like, oh, I'm trying to think of an okay. If he told Miz, all right, Tiger Driver, take the move, he'd be like, what? No, I don't want to. I don't know how to take that move.
Well,
Bryan's
to
like,
be fair, the Tiger Driver is just a double underhook power bomb.
well,
yeah.
The
just the
Tiger
idea,
Driver
like,
91 is
I
the
just mean
double
you're.
underhook pile driver
I
because
mean just like you're
I'm a
taking.
Japan smart and I'm gonna
I
correct
just
you
mean
every
you're.
single time.
I just mean you take the move. And it's
Yeah.
like,
Spoken with
okay,
Genghis,
Triple
it's
H
okay.
knows if looking at Bryan, it's like, oh,
Mhm.
Bryan has the background. He could take this move
I
if I
mean,
do it.
well, here's like the thing that I kind of draw like a I don't know question, qualm, whatever complaint to is that like there was that match about what it was a year and a half ago between Cena and Miz. I think it was not Cena and Miz, Cena and
We
Punk for the
never talk
WWE.
about that.
My bad. Cena and Punk for the WWE title, and Punk broke out the pile driver, and he just got bitched out backstage for that.
Yeah.
And you know that Cena and Punk both know how to do the pile driver effectively.
Yeah.
So, I mean, obviously, Cena and Punk are not Triple H as far as status within the company.
Did you just
But
call
at
him
the same
Cena and
time, those
Punk?
are your two top baby faces or top heels, depending on the situation.
Did you just call him Seaman Punk?
Yeah, that was a match.
No, you
Like a
just said
year ago on
Kind
Raw.
respect.
like
No one
CM.
remembers?
You said Seaman Punk
Oh, well,
or
my bad.
Seaman Punk.
You know what I meant.
That mistake.
That's what John Cena should have been calling him, like at that last feud in 2011.
I'm pretty
I'm
sure
gonna go
Glad
find
would have all been.
Seaman Punk.
I'm pretty sure Glad would have been all over his ass.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, look at Cena's ass. Of course they'd be all over him.
Which is weird to
Anyways.
say. Which is weird to say with Glad because it's Glaad. So wouldn't it be like Glade?
Anyways.
We're gonna get we're
Moving
gonna
on,
get loads
folks.
called.
Anyways, thankfully they did the right thing. This is the first right thing they did tonight. This Daniel Bryan won.
But
And a
then he
loud
did.
yes chant ensued.
Yep.
No, Leaf. In retrospect, or at least the way you're feeling now after the show has ended, do you care anymore that they sort of took him out after his victory against Triple H?
I would have preferred him to win and then that just be it. I actually would have preferred for him to win and for Triple H to just be like in disbelief and for Stephanie to like try and convince him to go back and whip his ass, but for Triple H just to not want to do it. Like I feel like again that would have been about getting him his respect. But if you want to give Daniel some more sympathy going into the main event, so it's slightly more in doubt that he'll win.
Yeah.
I understand it, but I still would have rather him just won clean and then just I feel like him being in a match was brutal enough, so it didn't really need that extra thing.
I do like the sort of tease in the beginning with Stephanie slapping him, like how funny he thought it was. Like it was sort of like a redundancy at that point.
Yeah, but after that match we had the Shield versus Kane and the New Age Outlaws.
Equals
Squash match,
perfect
Shield
booking.
wins.
This is
This was one of my bigger problems with the evening is because my God, like this doesn't do the Shield like a service, even though they're already over. You
but
don't do something like that.
it
Like
does in
they're,
the
they're
sense where it's
already
like
over. You give them
Chris.
sorry.
Let's talk these points. Granted, yeah, the New Age Outlaws and Kane could have gotten a good match out of them, but in all reality, I mean, the Shield, in a booking standpoint, was just like, okay, we got jumped by these guys' evil plans. What are we gonna do? We're gonna whoop everyone's ass that had involved in it, and the first chance we get to kill these guys, we're gonna fucking murder them. We're not gonna waste our time. We're not gonna let them go out there and do the, oh, you didn't know. Now, boys and girls, you have 2 words. Didn't let them do that. Got straight to the fucking ring, right to the point. Beat the living shit out of them. This is how they should have done it. I don't have anything against the Outlaws. I don't have anything against Kane. But if they're gonna go up against the Shield, who's been like, they either do this match the way they did it tonight, or have the Wyatts and the Shield go at it again for a third time.
See, I think Magpie hit the nail on the head here.
Fair
Like
enough.
you have to realize that. I mean, no offense. I mean, obviously, I think everyone at one point or another, if they don't already still, loves the New Age Outlaws. And the Kane, he's a legacy guy, but these guys are not going to get anything out of winning here, and yet they still have kind of some sort of overness and clout. And so the Shield beating them in essentially a squash match. Yeah, it definitely was a squash match. What was it? 2 minutes 57 seconds.
Yeah,
And I'm sure no one's bitching about their payday. Okay, let's be clear on
Hey,
that.
it's
and
not.
again, I'm not going to deny the fact that all the men involved in the match could have had a good match, but it's like,
Mhm.
It's
if
not
they're
the
going to book
short.
this match, that's how it should end.
It's not the fact that the match was short. It's the fact that it was essentially the cool down match after Daniel Bryan and Triple H, and that sort of robbed them of their momentum. The crowd
Um,
just the crowd wasn't. You know how crazy like smart
Yeah.
crowds go over the Shield, and
Mhm.
it just wasn't that. You know what I
Mhm.
mean?
And
They
that's a
weren't
great.
as rabid as would have been expected.
Yeah,
And I
and
agree with you on that front. But as far as that, I think this was the right decision overall
to
because
the
you
Shield's
want
credit.
these,
Sorry.
yeah, you want these three young bucks to beat up on the old veterans who are really like I'm pretty sure they're all at least pushing 50. Kane is at least.
And to the Shield's credit, they granted it was still like we had to come back. They, like Leaf said, it was because of booking, it was the cool down match. But the Shield being so talented as they were, and the mission at hand, they were starting to just like as they're whooping uh, these guys' asses, the crowd just got more and more into it, and everyone just started falling into their spots and just like, this is what Dean does, this is what Roman does, this is what Seth does. So when they were starting to get into that, you start to see the crowd getting more and more into it. So kudos for them to at least be like, okay, we had that awesome match between Daniel Bryan versus Triple H. Oh wait, we're getting back to be interested in this.
I
And then
think
the
I
next
just
match.
would. I think I just would have flipped it. I would have had the battle royal, and then I would have had the Shield winning because I feel like
Yeah,
that's
yeah, I agree with that.
it's a little bit battle royals are slower paced, and it sort of gives the crowd a little bit more rest. Again, I don't have a problem with the Shield squashing Kane
Mhm.
and New Age Outlaws. That part's fine. Them just dominating those guys and beating the crap out of them, fine. But I just felt like the placement was sort of lacking, and it took away from the huge reaction that those guys should have gotten.
I see your point, and let's transition into the battle royale because this goes into the booking of the battle royale because battle royales, unless it's the Royal Rumble, are a dime a dozen. You're gonna get at least the same type of pacing in those matches, but you can have like okay, beginning of the battle royale, everyone's in the ring, crowd doesn't care because we just got done with the Daniel Bryan Triple H match. We
And they
go
just
right
started in the ring.
right.
Unlike
They
the
just
Royal
started in the
Rumble where
ring.
they can like kind of lead up to a guy, you get that fancy countdown, and you're just like 10, 9, whatever. And with the Battle
Mhm.
Royal, it's just like, oh, everyone's in there, and it's clusterfuck.
Hey,
Yeah,
but
and
even
we
if they
didn't even really know who was in it because they didn't show any of the entrances.
Yeah,
Especially
So
the secret entrance, because there were only 26 announced.
yeah, and the hilarity was that like as the match was going on, we were just saying like, oh look, it's Yoshitatsu, or oh wait, that's Tyson Kidd, or
what's
stuff
a
like
Yoshitatsu?
Exactly.
Justin Gabriel. Wow, his trunks
Yeah,
kind of remind me
Yoshitatsu
of
was in
Tanahashi.
there. You
Stop
know, I
making up wrestlers, Arrow.
no, dude, I'm telling you, he was in there. I know you were out getting Mexican food, but I was like, damn, Magpie's not here because Yoshitatsu just got eliminated first.
Oh, and I'm sure we're gonna hear about Black Op helicopters and how
Black
Bret Hart should have been the
helicopters, the
champion,
Illuminati, the New World Order.
and then we're gonna hear about how
Mathematics was in the match.
Yeah,
Oh, I'm sorry, I was channeling my inner Alex Jones.
Yeah, it was
Right.
just Kofi Kingston had his
His
dime a
token
dozen.
spot.
wait,
Yeah,
I mean,
fuck that
it
spot.
wasn't
How
even
does
really
that
that.
count?
That
How are you not eliminated? That's retarded. I'm sorry. I don't
whoa,
want to be a
whoa, that
star.
is
Fuck
our
it.
word, Magpie. That is our word.
I don't care. Fuck it. That was retarded. That was fuck being a star. That just was like, no, Kofi, you're stretching it too. I don't mind if you land on the rails and jump back. Fine, that's
Well,
great.
if that's
I,
the approach we're taking, let me use the N word.
no,
Now, like, no. No, I'm kidding. I'm not going that far.
yeah,
But yeah, no, the thing is, I like Kofi Kingston. I mean, he's athletic, he's entertaining, but always the complaint is essentially he just becomes a spot monkey, and that's the only way he can essentially stay relevant. And the spots he does, be it from Royal Rumble to these battle royals where 2 feet touch the ground, all that crap. Um, the thing is, they always leave the room that he could fuck up. So if he
yeah,
fucks up, well, he's not going to win because that's a possibility. So he's never going to win. He's just going to do something kind of cool.
yeah. I mean,
but
granted, the spot was cool, but it was just like, oh boy, here's another Kofi almost gets eliminated spot.
Exactly.
quite
going into
honestly,
the
I
book.
didn't notice it, and I thought you guys were referring to the number of like Trouble in Paradises that he was delivering.
No,
Didn't
that's
he
just
do like 2?
He did like three,
Oh, really?
2 or 3.
Did
No, we're
I did
talking
not.
about the one where he got pushed off the top rope, and then he landed outside on the what would that be? The upper corner that's by the Titantron, and then he dropped his feet on the stairs.
Okay.
and so they didn't technically touch the ground.
Although
Though
this
let's
goes
be
in-
technical here and say, hey, no one's feet ever touch the ground because they're on top of those padded mats.
Although
Whatever.
That's a bit much.
just to be fair though, getting to Kofi's spot like in the middle, this is where it actually really started to pick up because once you got rid of the fat, meaning everybody else we pretend not to know in the
Big
match,
Show was
it
the
actually
second to
started
last
to
guy
get.
eliminated. What are you talking about?
Well, no, that's what I'm saying. It actually started to get picked up, and when it dwindled
Oh,
down
okay,
to just
okay.
like Cesaro and Big Show, that's when the crowd came alive again, and Cesaro was just
Yeah,
whooping
exactly.
ass. So it was like, oh, cool. Now the crowd's getting back into it. So this could feed into the next match. Which, if it was booked the way No Leaf talked about it, then that could have been the Shield match. But you get what I'm saying, right? Like that could have totally
Yeah.
worked in the second match.
No, I
At
think with the
least-
Shield match
at-
is that. Oh, I'm sorry.
No,
I mean,
no, no.
Mac-
Go ahead. Go
Okay.
ahead.
I was gonna say with the Shield match, I think people were just expecting more. They're happy with the result, but they're just kind of like, oh, that's it. We wanted to see more of Roman Reigns. We want to see more of Dean Ambrose. We want to see more of Seth Rollins.
That's
And
essentially
they didn't get
both
that.
then.
Yeah.
Because I didn't expect it to be a fantastic match. Although, like some of the people, at least from the '90s era, that are coming back, are doing competently, if very good. The Shield had a great match against Goldust and Cody.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
again, it's happened.
Yeah, I
Well-
just think they expected more, but with this battle royal, I think it finally picked up when they had what, like 5 or so guys left.
Yeah.
Maybe
Yeah.
a little more.
Oh, yeah.
One thing that surprised me was that they didn't use this to once again showcase Alexander Rusev.
Mhm.
Like he's probably gonna come in like with some kind of like gimmicky like Brodus Clay kind of thing now.
Oh boy,
Not at all what they're building
that's
up.
death.
But
Or he's just gonna transition there like Kozlov and Kali and all the rest of the
yeah.
foreign gimmicks.
That's more death.
But at least Cesaro won. That's the
Yeah.
most important thing.
Yeah, I'm glad I wanted it to
He
happen.
fucking
Like
scoop
I
slammed
certainly
Big Show.
didn't have a positive.
Right.
Effortlessly.
He is the strongest man on the planet. Why did Ryback get a push? We could have had this for months.
Pound for pound, Antonio Cesaro, or just Cesaro now, is like maybe even the strongest guy on the planet. I'm sorry, just like this guy's strength
Which is why they
knows
say just
no bounds. He's lean as all hell. I swear, he has like no body fat. Like you can't. His muscles are like bulging out of it, and it sounds like I'm just like gushing over him. And you know what? It's because I am. He's just
Yeah.
insanely fucking strong, and I can't say it any other way. It's just
Yeah.
so impressive. I mean,
I-
I'm
Yeah.
not gonna say Big Show's weight is legitimate as like 500 pounds, but he's at least 425, and you just can't scoop slam a guy. And sure, he's got help from Big Show, kind of helping him to jump up, but I mean, he just lifted him up like it's the freaking newspaper on his
Uh-huh.
doorstep, and just
And it-
scooped him over. Like Jesus Christ, this guy! Oh my God, I can't.
The
I want to
strength
see
of
him
this
giant swing him, and I'm gonna shut up right now because I'm just like marking the fuck out.
It's
glad.
really cool to
I'm-
see that. To going from seeing that dude in PWG halls and just seeing him as big as a mountain to now he's like has a breakout moment like this for WWE. It's like, wow, man, that's really. And he's still got miles ahead of him to keep having wonderful moments like this as a wrestler. So it's really good to just see him just like have this moment, you know. And
I
just
swear,
see
if
where
they don't take advantage of him, then this is the biggest wasted opportunity
Money in the
in
Bank.
WWE history. Like,
Yeah.
literally.
If he doesn't win Money in the Bank, then I'm gonna be very aggravated. Someone would have to get like more visibly over than him, because I don't see how it would make sense at this point. Like Cesaro has to win Money in the Bank.
Yeah.
Like right
Uh,
now, there's a list of over people. I mean, obviously you have your John Cena. He's probably on the top as far as ratings draw, whatever. And so I'm gonna cross him off the list. You got Daniel Bryan. You got Antonio Cesaro. CM Punk, and he's not even active. Then who do you have right there? It ain't Orton. It ain't Batista. It ain't Big Show.
This, in my opinion, was another sort of entry on the Will CM Punk return scale. Probably a bit lower quotient than the opening, but like
Sheamus? Question mark?
again, those 3 spots.
Yeah. Oh man.
but
So moving on.
John Cena versus Bray Wyatt.
Oh man.
Fine match.
Yeah.
fine match built up
Wasn't
fine.
bad. Wasn't bad.
Bray I love Bray Wyatt. He's one of my favorite people to watch,
His
and just how much he
entrance.
believes, how much he believes in his character, and how that he can translate that into an in-ring style.
Yeah,
And
giving him
persona,
giving him
so
the
good.
band as well was surprising and very delightful.
It was the one way they could guarantee the commentators wouldn't fucking talk all over it.
Yeah.
I honestly thought that that John Cena for a second, because he usually has the elaborate intros. I thought, oh, Cena's gonna do a voodoo gimmick. Okay, he's gonna use the power of voodoo to beat Bray Wyatt. Okay, I'm in.
Yeah.
Well, and also I think it does fit into the whole gimmick of him like coming into the match where he's not gonna try to like play anything up for Bray Wyatt. He's just gonna bring himself and just himself to the fight, like just
Yeah.
to dispute like his whole thing that he's a monument, that he's some sort of myth or whatever.
Mhm.
And do you think, like, going into the logic of like the characters, the Wyatt family, like they're a backwards cult, is the band a part of the cult too, as well as that sword dancer? Because that'd be pretty sweet, just to say like the Wyatts have that type of entertainment in their compound.
Yeah, I think that goes kind of with the mythos. Where
Yeah.
I kind of drew the line was, I mean, I know during the show I was kind of questioning that, like the Wyatt clan don't really seem like they're a group with electricity, so to speak, but
Well, no, because they can control it,
yeah, whatever. Well, I mean, let's suspend our disbelief. I mean,
or at least he
I,
can.
I will say this: I thank the band for not like just being like, this is how we perform normally. They dressed up in gimmicks, like
Yeah.
everyone except for the lead singer was
He had
wearing like,
fishman.
what do you call those, like
Uh,
some sort of bird mask,
yeah,
like
Yeah.
it's like plague doctors would wear it, like during.
okay, yeah, and then the lead singer was kind of dressed like El Dia de los Muertos
Yeah,
And he had the face
skeleton
paint.
for for Mexican Halloween. And so I mean that was, or Day of the Dead, whatever you want to call it. And I mean I thought the motif was cool, and the one thing I really did like was that, like, you can tell this band is not huge on like the auto tune. Like the guy sounded like the actual song, which was
Yeah.
awesome. And you could tell he's really singing it too. But really the only qualm I had was that I don't think John Cena should have won this.
No.
yeah, same.
Oh,
He
I
should
mean,
not have won. The match was good. We don't
yeah,
want to bury the match. The quality of
No,
the match
yeah,
was good.
right.
But
Match was perfectly acceptable. It's just it like John Cena for the past year and a half has been doing his thing with his finisher. Like he used to kind of hold it, like he'd get him in the fireman's carry, then he'd do the takeover for the attitude adjustment, FU, whatever you want to call it. Now he just kind of like, oh, fireman's carry, oh, and it's in there. And it's like within a second to say the least. I mean, it might even be faster than that. And it's just like there's no build up to it. I can't get excited about it, and that's kind of what, like, even with Bray Wyatt's finisher, the Sister Act, like it's not even that advanced or like that complicated of a finisher. He just does like the swing around and then drives the head into the ground in kayfabe. And I think I just John Cena's stuff, it's just too fast and I can't get into it. It's like, oh,
on
which is
top of
and
that,
you won. Okay, great.
yeah,
which
on
is
and this
top
why
of
goes
that,
I'm
on.
still.
what did Cena winning accomplish? It
That's the other point that I was thinking about. Like, John Cena's still over. Oh, but Bray Wyatt, he's been beaten along with all of his help in the Wyatt family with Harper and Rowan, who did
yeah,
interfere at least 2 to 3 times.
Let's be fair though, in terms of like he lost, but Bryant, Bryant, Bray's performance, Bray's performance during like the match, that won over the crowd, man.
Hmm.
That just
Hmm.
like that
Dude,
got him
yeah,
over in
their
and of
arms were
itself.
swaying. They were
And that's
singing
why I
out
think
the
he
whole.
should have won.
yeah.
Oh, of
You know?
course, I agree, but at
I
least
mean,
like he didn't. He
I
lost the
said,
battle, not the war.
yeah, I said it
I
like
hope
this.
so. I hope so.
I said it like this on the forums. You have Bray Wyatt win and you create a star. You have Cena win and you don't extinguish a star, but you also don't create a star. So what
Hmm.
the fuck is the point? There, there. It's not like Bray Wyatt was buried by this, but there was no real logical.
Yeah.
Well,
You didn't
Reason
fan any
to it.
flames.
It
given
makes you.
given what here's the thing. Given what happens next, it sort of makes sense that. Well, actually, no, it doesn't make sense
It
because
really doesn't. It really
yeah,
doesn't. Because Bray Wyatt winning would have made the crowd happy.
Very happy.
Otherwise, they were just kind of neutral. Like John Cena winning, like, I mean, obviously, what is this? I mean, this is the most hardcore fan base you're going to have at WrestleMania. You got people traveling from what is it, like 80 countries and all that, whatever gimmicks they try and pull out. But the fact of the matter is, I want to say the hardcore fan or the smart mark or the at least people who know what they like and they kind of reject the mainstream opinion, the authority or whatever I want. I want to say it's like 80-20.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I want to say it's 80-20. I just want to see where you guys put that. I mean, at least I would put it 70-30
Yeah, I
towards
would.
like smarter fans or
It's
whatever you
around
want to
there.
call them.
People.
Yeah,
Um
7:30.
yeah. And so that's when the most vocal group come out because they want to see the biggest show of the year. So they'll save up all their pennies and say their prayers and eat their vitamins and whatever, and they'll come out to the biggest show of the year instead of just going and like say, oh, it's a Raw taping or it's a SmackDown taping. But let's get back to the issue. Like, oh, Halo, oh, no big deal. Sorry, there's police sirens going on in my background if you can hear them, but that's a typical night in my town.
I can't background.
Anyway, so
Don't worry about it.
WrestleMania.
I would like to declare one thing since we're talking about traveling. It has been announced that there is finally going to be a WrestleMania within driving distance of my beautiful San Diego.
Aren't you gonna fly?
Fly, drive, I don't care. Magpie is going to WrestleMania 31. I'm
I
saying
was
I'm
gonna say
saying this
you're
right now
in
on the
San
show.
Diego and San Jose. Like my
I've
aunt,
driven it.
my
I've driven it
relatives
before.
typically just fly north to south. But
You could fly it, which is
yeah,
very convenient. But you can. I've driven it before. Not me
okay.
driving, but road trip wise. I mean, it's doable.
What's that highway that's along the coast that's just beautiful?
Pacific.
Yeah, is that what it's called? Like I thought it was like highway something.
Uh, God damn, this is where my California knowledge.
Don't worry about it. We're not talking about wrestling.
Either
Right?
case, though, I'm going to WrestleMania 31. I don't care if it's shit or if it's amazing. I'm going to go. That's the one thing I have to do as a wrestling fan. I've done
It's
everything but
something you
that.
should experience in your entire life. Like
Yeah.
my bucket list, as far as a wrestling fan, go to a WrestleMania and go to a Tokyo Dome show on January 4th.
Okay, I'm going to put the Tokyo Dome on the list now. But there are two things I need to do as a wrestling fan: WrestleMania and go to a show in Japan.
Hmm I
Yep.
would love to go to
I mean,
Kyotoken
if you're
and
someone trying to be a
Budokan.
wrestler, you should ideally wrestle in Japan. But I don't know if you.
But Tokyo Dome, January 4th, New Japan. That's my dream. That's my
Yeah.
That
dream.
would be nice.
Back
But
to
I
WrestleMania.
think
The
I
kind of
think
Yeah.
convenience.
I think we have to
So
talk about
I,
what comes next.
I think our punctuation on the John Cena defeating Bray Wyatt match is that Bray Wyatt, he had help from the Wyatt family, Luke Harper, Eric Rowan, and they both at separate times had beat down parts on John Cena, and John Cena still overcame the odds, and
Yeah.
it just doesn't sit right with me. I don't think it should happen. It's one thing like John Cena losing clean. Like personally, I think he should lose clean because it's one thing. He's Superman, like obviously, but
If
there's
anything,
a point.
Cena should have won, but like I don't know, like maybe done the STFU onto a chair or beaten him savagely and then won.
They should have done something more spectacular. Bottom line, if you're going to beat Bray Wyatt. So it's just disappointing. It's not as there's no like punctuation mark. There's no real impact. It's just kind of, oh, that's how you're gonna end it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that was. I get
Wow,
because like
we could that kind of speaks familiar about what we're going to talk about later.
Mhm. Mhm.
Uh, we have to talk about it, guys.
Yeah.
Is it
Here it
match?
is.
Oh boy.
The biggest punch to the gut.
I'm pretty sure a piece of my childhood died tonight, and that
Well,
sounds.
let's talk about the most like deflating moments in dark match history where we had this part. I think Christian losing his title 5 days after getting it.
That was kind of
Cena
pathetic.
winning elimination chamber. I'm just trying to remember moments where we were all bummed as a
the
fan.
whole Jeff Hardy debacle. No, we were
Jeff
pissed
Hardy,
Yeah.
off at that.
we were
I
pissed, but
think
at least we
Jeff
got
Hardy
something
just
out of it. We weren't
existing.
bummed.
The
This though,
18 seconds
holy
probably.
and it wasn't even the finish. The match bummed me out. That was sad.
Yeah,
Yeah.
dude. Like I was noticing myself not at all paying attention to it, and then after that, I was starting to pay attention to it, and really, really like I kept
And it
on
was
saying
all
this
shock
goddamn
value.
match. the crowd is not as hot. Like, I expected more from Brock Lesnar, and he has his detractors as far as
Yeah.
match quality, not just like
Yeah.
personage goes, but like, good fucking lord, like I expected a lot more from him.
Yeah, the quality of the match made the finish even worse. If the match had been Brock versus Undertaker at No Mercy in 2000 and what through 2002,
Just like a decade
2003,
before, really.
yeah, then I think we would have been fine. I think we would have been like, okay, the streak is over.
But the match kicked ass.
I
Yeah.
don't, yeah, I don't know about you guys, but also I think it would have been a much fucking easier pill like today if
And
fucking
I'll take the
been a
heat.
decent match.
Going in, I'll take the heat. I'm sorry to interrupt you, Chris.
Nope.
Go. I know in wrestling we're supposed to have a suspension of belief into anything that we're watching, but Lesnar should have just gone in there and killed him. I mean, I'm just looking this too like pound for pound, and this is an Undertaker 3 years ago that can have this physical of a match with it. So it's like I don't think it should have been a Shield domination, but it's like I don't see Lesnar losing the match. I mean, that's where that suspension of disbelief just throws out the window. So I don't have a. I'm not gonna say I don't have a problem with the streak getting beaten. I just wish the match was good, and then the streak would have been
Because these
beaten
two are,
along with a good build.
I think these two are capable. I mean, you have to think. I mean, this match essentially ended on two F5s, which makes
Yeah.
which makes Undertaker look. It almost makes the fact that Shawn and Triple H had to take Undertaker to the absolute fucking limit, and they still couldn't beat him.
I
Oh
think what
fuck
you have
yeah.
to analyze is the fact that like how many finishers were used versus how many finishers were used in this match, and I know it's
Yeah.
not even close. I think at least in the HBK matches, at least the second one, I want to say there was at least two super kicks and at least two tombstones. Plus that
And
there was that
last
tombstone.
ride, last
Yeah,
ride.
last ride. There was the tombstone from the moonsault,
Yeah.
which was amazing, and I'm so glad that
Yeah.
happened. And HBK didn't break his neck.
Yeah.
Um, but then there was also that there was that questionable spot. I don't know what you want to call it, but like I think it was supposed to be a last ride where Lesnar was on the top rope and
Oh, that was shit.
Oh my god,
yeah,
yeah.
and
There's
Undertaker
no
picked
way.
him up.
And that's
Oh
one
boy.
one other thing that became clear during this match, and like we said, I said I expected more from Brock Lesnar. You guys, I think, echoed the sentiment. Undertaker was just he's gone. Like, he can't do this anymore.
Yeah.
There's
But
no way for him to have this kind of match, and it was clear throughout. But in my opinion, had they just had him prevail once again and just not allowed him to do this again, it wouldn't have
Tarnished
Imagine if they
anything.
would have
like
done
Yeah.
it
this.
wouldn't have
No
fucked.
difference would have been made.
Yeah,
And imagine if they would
Yeah.
have done this scenario with the Punk match, because Punk can work with him in the sense where it's like he looks
Punk
strong.
protected him.
Yeah,
Punk protected
Punk would have
the
made him
hell
look
out of him.
strong. Punk could work with them, and Punk, yeah, would have protected him. So he could have like made it look like he's whipping his ass, but
hmm
just enough to where it's like you're telling an interesting story, and it would have benefited Punk more.
And personally, I want to be clear. Like Punk will definitely would have definitely worked more to protect him. But as far as Brock goes, I love both Brock and Taker. But the
yeah.
thing is, Brock's style, regardless of how much he intends to hurt someone or be as safe as he can be, it's not conducive to being safety. You know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah.
Yeah, but
it's more tailored to strong style Japanese, but even almost more stronger than that style
and that's
because like that first Cena match, he just straight up busted Cena open because they needed to do that, and unfortunately, he didn't come out on top on that one, which would have been better.
and that's the problem with the booking of this match. Is just
Yep.
like, uh, damn it, I lost my train of thought. That's the problem with the booking of this match. Undertaker, God bless him, 48, can't do the same physical shit that he did when they were first feuding. If he
Yep.
could, we wouldn't have a problem with this match because we'd be like, wow, they nearly killed each other.
Which is
Good
why
job.
they needed to put him in the ring with someone who could sort of carry him through the match.
Fucking Bray Wyatt would have been better.
They needed to put him in there with someone who could carry Taker. Taker can't carry Brock to a good match. For as great as Taker is, the last two matches Taker has had had largely been because he's been in the ring with a ring general who could take the pressure off of him, and
But
it
then
wasn't
again, like
all
also
on him.
he also seemed faster in those previous matches. Like there weren't even any attempts like say the top rope dive or anything. There was I believe there was an apron spot and he did a leg drop from the
To
floor.
be fair, one of those
But
with Triple H was in Hell in a Cell, so he couldn't afford to do the over the top rope dive. But yeah, I mean, there was that really screwed up one with HBK where the cameraman didn't catch him.
And then he got fired.
Yep, exactly.
And we never
You
saw that
don't catch
cameraman
the
again.
Undertaker, you get fired.
But it's like, unless I hear that Brock Lesnar has signed like a contract where he's able to work a shitload of dates and actually represent himself as like someone who is able to do this, someone who will be hated forever and can never recover into
Yeah.
a babyface from this, then my God, this is
Right.
the
No one
wrong
gains
fucking thing
anything
to do.
from this. The only reason I can imagine this happens is because this is Undertaker's last match. He wants to go out like a traditional star goes out, and they job to their last match. But usually you job to an upcoming star, someone
Yeah,
that's going to beat you.
yeah,
Brock,
precisely.
one,
Fucking
he's
right.
already a star, and two, he's not going to work more than the 24 dates he's obligated to do via contract. So where's the gain here?
You know what?
There
I think
isn't
this.
one.
I think this also sets in motion to which I think would be a better match in terms of physicality and who can do what. Uh, okay, well, no, if I talk about it, it's going to spoil the match. But picture like, well, fuck it, we know what's happening. Okay, after WrestleMania, Bryan has the titles. Triple H is mad he didn't beat him. Orton gets his rematch. Still can't beat Daniel Bryan. Batista will challenge eventually, and Daniel Bryan will beat him. Or if Triple H is that mad, hey Brock, here's $50,000. Go kill the troll and get the belt back.
Either get the belt back or finally like sort of solidify Daniel Bryan.
Right, and Daniel Bryan should have
Don't
the
lie.
amazing match with Lesnar, and that's just like that dynamic right there.
Yeah,
And it makes sense
they'd be
because Triple H
fantastic.
would pay uh, somebody like Brock Lesnar to just go in and do that.
I mean, anything short of like Kurt Angle coming back and feuding with him like that. But I wouldn't exactly call Brock Lesnar short of that. So.
I wouldn't probably call anything Brock Lesnar to his face.
No.
So anyone got anything final thoughts? You know, the streak's
I
over.
I don't have a problem with the streak ending. I
Uh-huh.
don't have a problem that it's Lesnar. I have a problem with just, and this is going back to just me being like everything that a wrestler is should always be defined by what happens in the match, or at least like a
Mhm.
big portion of it. The match stunk. That's where I'm just
Yeah.
like it's irritated. I mean,
Right.
the build could have been poor, the match could have kicked ass, and then the streak could have been broken. You would have had 1 week element, but 2 out of 3 ain't bad.
Yeah.
The fact that the build sucked, the match was a complete letdown, and Lesnar couldn't even do the Lesnar spots because he can't really beat the shit out of the Undertaker.
Yeah.
And then the ending of it, that's just not a perfect combination right there. It's
They needed to pick a better. I have a feeling that Taker picks Brock. I don't know why.
He
But I
did.
feel like
He had wanted to. I think
Yeah.
Yeah. I think
they
it's because of the UFC thing 2 years ago.
number one, the UFC thing. Number two, there was a sort of signing at I think Access last year, and he pointed to the poster and he's like, I think I got one more in me for this guy. But it's not exactly how I was expecting it to go.
Hmm.
yeah, he if it was Taker's decision, then it was the wrong decision for Taker to do that. Um, Taker is smart enough and business savvy enough to realize that him losing at WrestleMania could have been and should have been a huge rub to someone.
Yeah.
So, and even with Daniel in the main event, you can't do it for him.
but like next year, like if he beat Lesnar, and then all right, Daniel Bryan's next feat for being an
The
underdog.
linear
fuck
streak
Bray
champion.
Wyatt. Or Bray Wyatt. Like as the sort of supernatural successor. If they could
or
keep the gimmick running like that for that long.
or what about having it be Cena, which would have fucking pissed people right the hell
Oh yeah, it
up.
would have angered people, but it probably would have been a better match.
Yeah, because again, Cena can take care of Taker, and Cena, for all his loud calling of spots and all that stuff, he can guide someone like Taker through the match, in the streak, and Taker can pass him that torch. Brock doesn't need the torch. Brock is going to take the torch, and probably after Extreme Rules, he won't be back until SummerSlam.
Well, I
So
mean, I think the thing about Brock is that he doesn't care. You know, he just wants the money, and I understand that.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's just like
Yeah,
if
Arrow
you're not gonna be,
understands. Arrow understands. You should see how much we pay him to get on the show.
yeah, I know.
He has
I'm all about
respect
the
for the
cash
business,
money
but
millionaire.
not the
You
right.
should you should see the rap videos I've produced. Just gold, platinum, whatever you want to call it. Diamond. But anyway, it's just like Brock, he just wants to get that money because he can't professionally fight anymore. He doesn't like the road schedule. So really he's just in it for the money, and I mean, who really isn't any smart person within the wrestling business? They're in for the money, whatever. Why would
but
you then do
Brock,
a
it's
job?
different because Brock doesn't have he
Right. He doesn't want to
doesn't
associate with
have
people, but the thing is, I would just say, why would you end the streak with a guy that is only going to work 24 days a year maximum, and only wrestle 3 times maximum a year, and thirdly, doesn't give a shit about your company and is willing to void contracts like he did the last time.
Can
yeah
I just say one thing though? It was so. I apologize to you gentlemen as in the call because when Undertaker actually lost the match, that I thought I laughed really hard for the Triple H entrance, but man, the sense of bewilderment in the audience and disappointment in the air was just. Oh my god, I was
it killed
hysterically
the
laughing.
crowd.
It was fucking hilarious.
It completely it
There
completely and
needs to be
utterly
like a
killed him.
there needs to be a collection of memes where it's like a big photo collage of like all those disappointed and shocked and appalled and awed faces in the crowd after that call.
There's already one with a couple of them, but not the extent.
Yeah.
Some people really milk that like reaction.
And apparently there were people that just got up and left the show, which
Yeah, Arrow, didn't you
Oh yeah,
report
and there were
that?
bullshit chant. There was a very audible bullshit chant.
yeah,
Uh-huh.
I
Yeah,
mean
no, I was reading reports that people like after this match legitimately completely left the arena or the stadium or the or the Superdome. Not
Yeah,
the
and I don't think
Silverdome.
there's any re-entry either.
Right. I mean, you
So a bunch
just
of
leave
divas
the
are in there.
entire complex. Ooh, oh boy. Like especially,
Sorry, I'm.
the main event wasn't anything super special. It was good. It was good. I don't want to take anything away from it, but it wasn't like God's gift to wrestling.
yeah.
And I think, to be that upset, you can't stay an extra 45 minutes. I mean, unless, of course, you're like the super gotta beat traffic person, then I think it's a little ridiculous because you already paid your money. You're not really sending a message by being out of there unless you can get every single person to leave, and that's not going to
Yeah.
happen.
It was a stupid decision by the WWE. It was a stupid decision by Taker. Someone should have grabbed Taker and said, "This is really fucking dumb."
Hmm. I
Respect
mean,
the
Cena
hell.
could have won next month.
Yeah,
He could have won. He could have won on Extreme Rules.
Well, I mean, who the fuck knows? Like the match could have looked good on paper, but yeah, someone should have put the
It's not
kibosh
even a
just to
title.
see.
It wasn't even a title fight.
Yeah,
Oh, and talking one more time about that build, it's like if they could have built up like actually having a build for a long standing time and thinking about it, they could have really, this has been said before, play up the fact that The Undertaker never beat Brock Lesnar. So it's
Hmm.
like, oh, at least they told that story, so we had that element in there, and holy shit, it happened.
yeah.
Again, it
Yeah.
still would have
You
pissed
know what?
people off, it'd be perplexing, but at least they would have set it up or like had it into the story, or there's a build.
You know what they could have done? They could have had Brock beat as much as he could. They could have had Brock beat the crap out of Undertaker. Not an extreme beating, but enough. And they could have done that spot where Taker barely wins and he has to get helped out of the ring. And then
So
the
the
next,
spot they wasted on Triple H.
yeah, and then the next night on Raw, Daniel Bryan celebrating and the gong hits and Taker's like, and I'm paraphrasing, but Taker's just like, I don't know if I have another WrestleMania match in me. I need one more shot at the title. And then Triple H, being the jackass that he is, he would book it that if Bryan beats Taker, Taker retires. So you keep the streak intact. Daniel Bryan can beat Taker at Extreme Rules because, again, Daniel Bryan is a guy who can protect Taker.
Yeah.
Taker has his last moment, and again, he passes the torch. It's not a great idea, but it's a better idea than the one that they used.
I think that's
Yeah.
all we can really say on the matter.
At any rate, Divas Championship match. I felt, I legitimately felt so bad.
I don't know whether it was this match or the next one where they're talking about the fact that the streak was broken. And I was like,
In the
you
middle of
fools,
this
don't
match,
do
they're
that.
like, "Oh, the streak being broken." It's like Jerry Lawler. I forgot what he said. I'll paraphrase, but Jerry Lawler pretty much acknowledged the fact that the win was taken right out of the people's sales, man. Just
Yeah,
right out of
they,
there.
they
It
knew they fucked up.
sucked because the girls were trying so hard.
They had a Brian Kendrick in 2009 Royal Rumble moment. They just like look back and they're like, oh, I know
I'm
I fucked.
sorry, I fucked up.
To be fair, though, if it was a great Undertaker match, this still would have gotten the silent treatment. This was a silent treatment for another reason entirely, you know?
Yeah, and again, the girls tried, and they actually did get the crowd back a little bit because
Yeah.
The Bellas
Fucking
did
Ellis tried.
the Bellas did the Daniel Bryan suicide dive. Like this wasn't for a cluster fucking match. This wasn't like terrible. It was actually decent.
And you
But
know what? And I fucking love the fact that AJ retained. Like I'm glad that they didn't give it.
That surprised me way more than the Undertaker, but it made me laugh because I'm like, wow, Natty has a TV show that's backed entirely by the company, and she still can't get over. Holy shit!
Yeah. And not
Wow.
the good thing about AJ winning is that they could actually establish a feud rather than like because I was afraid that the Divas title was going to change hands and like it seemed likely that it was.
Let's do dream booking. Let's say I've beaten every diva ever. Now I have the title. This is after. Wait, who's that chick coming down the aisle with really black hair and looks very pissed
no,
off?
I don't want them to debut Paige. I don't want them to ruin her yet.
And with the total divas viewership at this point, it could be canceled more pages on there.
It actually gets good ratings.
But it kind of slumped in the second season. Like Eve, probably give it 2 more seasons before they cut it. I'm calling it. It's not going to last for like 5.
But AJ Lee
Fucking
retained, and
tangent thing up into total divas, are we?
No, we're just glancing over it. But yeah, AJ
Total Divas is
retained.
bomb.
I just
Thank you,
have
God.
no amount of care for it.
Speaking of no amount of care, why does Rosa Mendez still have a job?
That is the biggest question.
She looked like Eve Torres put on an ugly Marilyn Monroe dress and just let her body go. And
By
not
the
in like
way-
she,
They hired her.
by the way, Eva Marie more screen time than the Shield.
She did have a specific spot.
and she was
She had
hated.
a spot in which she didn't take a bump because she's so fucking green.
Eh, you know what? Better than her taking a bump.
Yeah, but then
Be honest.
Natty doing the 2 sharpshooter was fine because she did it to like Layla and Michelle McCool when she first did that spot. So these are 2 skinny bitches that you can totally bend into a pretzel even if they're
I
laying on
love
top of each
Layla.
other. But then they like what was it on the annoying Funkadactyl, the one that looks whitewashed, Oksana and Alicia Fox, and I'm like, oh, fuck you! Don't put
Right.
that on. Thankfully they didn't, but it was just like, ugh.
Are you talking
I
about
could have totally
Foxana?
saw them actually doing that move, like a triple sharpshooter. Wow, that observation just bombed.
Anyways, main event time.
Yeah.
Yes.
I would say
Yes.
psychologically probably a more entertaining match for
Yes.
than even Triple H.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
Daniel Bryan won.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
I support this.
At
Yep.
least we can finally have they didn't completely fuck it up.
Absolutely.
This is one of those
Very
great
happy
moments
about this.
fan because it's like when Brian first showed up to WWE. There's not a wrestling fan who knew who Brian Danielson was who didn't believe like he could be at the top level, but just like going like Daniel Bryan says, going in any promotion, you got to figure out how to get over in that promotion. So it was one of those once he really figures out how to do this, like just be over in the WWE, and the fans just really just get to see what he can do in the ring. He's going to be right there, and it's been beautiful to see that grow up and then just like get closer and closer, and then having it almost taken away. But just like said it, I said it at the beginning, the fans will never let Daniel Bryan die. This was just like when he first got fired. This was just like when he was trying to get the U.S. belt. And now we get to see this, man. He got dogged out of WrestleMania like 2 fucking times back to back, and now he gets this.
It kind of I'm happy that it was actually booked the way the match was booked the way it was, because it got the crowd back into it and got it reinvested in Daniel Bryan after
It's
that
true.
Undertaker thing happened.
And there are enough like anti-hope spots. Like when they both teamed up on him, like I was like that was quite a decent turn in the match. Like I thought it was just gonna go down to them. Although I did have thoughts of Chris Benoit in WrestleMania 20. I can just say it.
But dude, we were having those flashbacks the entire time, and then there's streamers. He's holding the 2 belts. He's been in the bit game for like 10 plus years. Oh, his niece is in the ring with him. Confetti's flying down. I'm thinking Brie Bella's gonna show up any moment. I'm like, uh oh, but it's not gonna happen in the ring, obviously. But I like to think it's WWE. It's like, oh my god, we got somebody who like Chris Benoit, just as technically proficient, and he's hasn't used steroids in his life. We're gonna use this to forget completely about WrestleMania 20. We're gonna go to that extreme
Well,
to forget about it.
if nothing else, like the incident a few years, like 3 years down the line, will show us that a vegan diet like completely messes up your brain to the point where you have it the equivalent of an Alzheimer's patient. So
Are we really that snark? We got what we wanted as wrestling
yeah, fuck
fans,
yeah.
but
I'm
we're
not.
just like, you know what? Fuck it. We're
No
just
amount
gonna.
of ways to dilute this moment. Like the whole Taker thing was it fucking definitely cast a pall, but I'm very happy with what they won.
You
Yeah,
say
at
that's the
least
Paul.
Daniel won. Because I was fully ready for them to like be like, this is the WrestleMania where we crush all your dreams all the time.
A part of me was kind of like with sort of cynical attitude after Taker's loss. Part of me was saying like, oh, just fucking give it to Batista. Just go the full nine with this fucking booking.
Yeah,
Like and one thing that was good about the match as well though was that they kind of dodged being overbooked, especially when you have Triple H coming in with a neck brace and then completely getting up after being dove. Like with the
And
neck brace off, he gets right back up.
And the
yeah.
worst of which, like Stephanie suffers out of that suicide dive. Like Triple H is hurt. Scott Armstrong just so like death. Stephanie McMahon, I hurt my ankle.
How did she hurt her ankle? Did Brian hit her?
I want to say it was just ricochet of like Triple H got hit, then she got shoved, and then she twisted her ankle. You know, like you, just wrong turn. I don't know. She hurt her ankle. It was like a horror movie.
But again, that was one thing that could have completely ruined the match and didn't.
And we were talking about when could CM Punk return quotas. This match was one of those moments where it's like, because I said this to you, Chris. I'm like, all right, if Punk's not coming back, which babyface is going to help Daniel Bryan from Triple
Yeah,
H right now?
yeah,
Uh,
especially and also when they were teaming up on him, I thought that he'd even the score. Like after it was emphasized so many times that this match is no disqualification.
Yeah.
But like, and another time was obviously like after he won, either to congratulate him or to turn on him. Like, because setting up like that feud immediately after would have also like really got the fucking crowd going after what happened earlier.
Wait, so then CM Punk returns, and then another independent wrestling fan who's been in the same roads that he has and wrestled the same places and won the titles and overcome adversity hugs him in the middle of a confetti-filled ring.
Well, no, then no, to undo it, then he just GTS's him. But you could see like the storyline writes itself. Daniel Bryan got to main event WrestleMania.
Yeah.
Like well above like CM Punk like being snubbed for once in a lifetime and such and such. Like that feud definitely does right itself. Like they believed in him more than they believed in Punk. But there's always the future for that.
Yeah.
To the future with jetpacks.
So overall, what did we all think of WrestleMania?
I really enjoyed watching it.
Chris?
I did until Taker lost, and then I started enjoying it again. But there's still some fucking. It's still affected.
And one more thing on my point, I would say this just as a wrestling fan, seeing a lot of these roster guys, and I don't want to come off as like Magpie's the guy who's going to bring up the facts that I saw Daniel Bryan on DVDs or went to go see Claudio in PWGs. It's not even just about those guys I followed, but just the WWE roster in and of itself, just like giving the getting back in the wrestling around 2010, no, 2009, 2010, and then being on this ride from that point to now, and just being invested in a lot of those guys and seeing where they have grown to get to this WrestleMania. It's absolutely beautiful to see Bryan be on top and Cesaro have his moment, and the Shield still retain tall. And as a wrestling fan, it hit every mark. You know, I felt like a little kid at times. I was excited this entire week. I'm like, Daniel Bryan's gonna do it. Daniel Bryan's gonna do it, and they gave me that moment. In a way, it was that 8-year-old kid again, almost.
But they also killed another 8-year-old kid in you.
Well, we
Well,
was it.
I don't want to put words in your mouth.
Well, I think I did say it as a joke where I was like,
Right.
did we just watch a part of our childhood die? Because the Undertaker, that's why we're so.
No,
Because the Undertaker, we're so invested with the Undertaker because he was always there when we were watching WWE as kids till now. So it's just like that's why he has such an impression on us. So to see him lose his streak, we're still invested into him. So even if he wasn't like our guy back in the day, he was still we appreciate him because he was always there.
Yeah, I mean, I like this WrestleMania. They, there were a couple things I didn't like, but they weren't the kind of things that would derail it. But
quite
Undertaker,
honestly, like
Undertaker losing is the thing that has me the most pissed off. I guess not pissed off, just like disappointed and wondering why in the hell.
it's true, but
Bewildered.
at the same time,
Bewildered.
after WrestleMania 27 through 29, in which I think in every single case you have main events with either bad matches or matches that aren't up to par of their expectations, with a result that you don't care about, like versus one where like our expectations were going in every direction. Like Daniel Bryan could have lost, like Batista could have been given the belt, like he could have lost the first time in Triple H. Everyone's suspicions about Triple H could have been confirmed. It was both two good main event level matches that ended with good results, glossing over Taker and Brock, and as well like even CM Punk versus Chris Jericho, very good match, and obviously like CM Punk got to reign supreme, but like could have been a lot better. Like the feud had sort of gotten weak by then. Compared to the last 3 years, I'd say 30 was good, but it was may not have been what
It's
WrestleMania fucking 30 should have been.
when the shock of Undertaker probably losing and Undertaker probably retiring, when that wears off, the match will. This WrestleMania will probably be looked at better, but it cast a real pall over
Fuck yes.
everything.
Well, and there's also one thing we could say for the first time in quite a few years, Extreme Rules may or may not be better than WrestleMania.
If it's
Well,
on
I
par,
thought
I'm
last
happy.
year was better.
Oh yeah, it was much better in 2012 when Bryan and Sheamus like had
That
a fantastic match and put each other over.
yeah.
And I forgot what happened in 11. Oh yeah, we had Morrison, Miz, and Cena.
Yeah,
Maybe
We
Truth.
Extreme
don't
Rules
talk about that.
Backlash / One Night Stand / Extreme Rules always tend to be better.
Should have stayed Backlash, of course.
But at any rate, I think that's gonna be it for tonight.
Here's to 2014. Let's get that wrestling season started.
Yeah. We don't know when we'll be back, but eventually we will be back because we always come back. I was about to say we're like the Undertaker, but I guess we're not anymore.
Terry Funk.
Forever! Forever!
The thing is,
Forever!
the important thing is
Forever!
The important thing is we're friends. So even if we're not doing the show, we're hanging out with each
And
other. So
the important thing also is that you're all our friends because we say so.
Exactly.
yes, join us. Join us.
So, until next time, I'm No Leaf Clover.
I'm Christopher Says.
I am the luscious magpie.
And the arrow went somewhere, we don't know where. Good night
This is
and good luck.
Margaritaville.
It's Friday and I'm in love.